Hey, Edith.
Hey, Christy.
What's the difference between COVID-19 and Romeo and Juliet?
I have no idea.
One's the coronavirus, the other is a Verona crisis. Hi, I'm Christy.
And I'm Edith. We're backyard gardeners in Colorado.
And neighbors.
And friends. These days, gardening is becoming very popular.
We're not experts. We just learned a lot about gardening from the mistakes we made along the way.
So welcome to Upside Down Tulips, a fun podcast that celebrates gardening gone wrong.
Upside Down Tulips.
Hi, everybody. I bet you know that you're listening to Upside Down Tulips. At least I hope you know that. Hello, and there's my friend Christy. Hi, Christy.
Hi, neighbor friend Edith.
It's so nice to see you again. But with this pandemic, I don't see you except when we do this.
I woke up this morning so excited, thinking, oh my gosh, I get to see my friend Edith. We get to talk about our gardens.
Yep.
We get to share it with everybody who's listening.
I was excited too. I thought, oh my gosh, I get to leave the house.
All right. Now,
Yeah.
Edith.
Yes.
Do you know what Singapore, Hawaii, and Arkansas have in common?
Let me think. Well, they're not surrounded by water. I guess I don't know.
They're all places that have people who now listen to Upside Down Tulips.
Christy, who do we know in Singapore?
I thought maybe it would be an old lover of yours.
Stop it. I don't think so.
Are you sure?
No.
Okay.
Who knows where these people go?
Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing.
I bet you the gardens in Singapore are amazing.
Oh, I bet they are. That is exciting. That
Yeah.
is wonderful. Speaking of that, I think that we would like to welcome people that are working in their garden right now. Whether you're watering or weeding, I feel like we're there with you. Huh, Christy?
It's amazing to me how people have said that they listen to our podcast while they are gardening.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
You know what would be fun is that we should do our podcast while we garden sometime.
How's does that
Then
work?
it would be gardeners who garden in a garden with people who listen in the garden. It'd be many layers of existence.
Yes, that's almost like Kafka. Love that.
Well, what are we
Yes.
talking about today? Today, we're going to chat about harvesting.
Uh-huh.
So this is where we're going to learn the difference between organ harvesting and organic harvesting.
You know, your wordplay. We're not going to talk about harvesting organs, everybody. We're not doctors. But yeah, we're going to talk about harvesting our vegetables and fruits and whatnot.
We also have letters from the mailbag.
My favorite.
Well, I think before we do garden update, we should talk about what is up with those seeds from China.
Oh.
Have you heard about this?
Well, I've heard about it, but I never heard like what came out of it, you know?
Well, folks who don't know what we're talking about, a couple weeks ago, people from all over the country started getting these mysterious packages from China that had seeds in it.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
everybody started freaking out. Like, what should we do with these seeds?
You know, Christy, I really can't think of a much more benevolent gift than giving somebody seeds.
Yes.
You know, I mean, what could be so horrible? People were saying things like, oh my gosh, it's bindweed, which I think would be hilarious. If China sent us bindweed
Yeah.
seeds.
Didn't you once say, Edith, that you planted creeping bellflower?
I did. I did.
All
On
over the
purpose.
place.
I sure did. Thank you for reminding me. I
Well,
think it's interesting, and I think people are making a huge deal out of probably nothing.
Well, they found out what it was.
They did.
Yes. I got this from my news source, is from CBS News. And they said that they've identified the seeds. They include mustard, cabbage, morning glory,
Oh.
and herbs like mint, sage, rosemary, and lavender. And then hibiscus and roses were also found. And the USDA believes that the mystery seeds were being sent to the U.S. as part of a brushing scam.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
That involves sellers sending unsolicited items, which are typically light and easy to ship,
Uh-huh.
and then they post fake customer reviews to boost sales.
Okay.
So that's what the
Okay.
seeds are about. But you're not supposed to plant them if you get them,
Okay.
because, as we talked about 2 episodes ago that in our invasive and noxious plants episode, that invasive species could take over.
You never know.
You never know.
You do never know. Yeah, but I'm glad that they're basically benevolent seeds. I mean, the brushing thing, that has nothing to do with the little seeds themselves.
Right.
It's not like they're radioactive or going to blow up or anything.
Not like
that.
they're little seed spies.
Seed spies. Right. Well, that was exciting while it lasted, wasn't it, that whole seed thing?
Yeah, it was a great mystery.
Yeah.
What were in those packages. And if you get them, don't. You know, I'm a little disappointed I didn't get one, though.
I didn't get one. I don't know anybody who got one.
Oh, I saw somebody on Facebook who got one. But maybe, but it was Facebook, so who knows, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how's your garden doing this week?
It has been a beautiful week in the garden. I'm at this point right now where, because I'm home and unemployed and unable to direct plays, that I'm getting so much done that I get to do what I love most in the garden, which is to putter.
Just putter, walking around
with a cup of coffee.
And do you talk to your plants?
Yes.
Did you see that thing? I think it was on Facebook or Wheat Ridge Gardeners. It was plants grow better when you speak to them kindly. Just imagine how humans would do.
Oh, yeah.
How
I
nice
totally
is
believe
that? Isn't that nice?
Yeah, it's nice. So, and I want to give a shout out to my flowers, because I know we'll be talking a lot about vegetables coming up here. My zinnias are all in bloom right now. And this is an annual. So an annual is a seed that its life journey is only from when it germinates in the fall. It's gone forever. Won't come back next year. And I only started planting these maybe about 5 years ago. And I'm so glad I do, because in August you need some color.
Yeah.
Everything else starts fading a little bit, gets really hot, and the zinnias is there. They look so fancy, and they're so easy to grow.
Oh, they're beautiful. Do they reseed themselves?
They can, yes. I will collect the seeds too. In fact, some of the zinnia I have are from seed that I just collected, and I threw it in a paper bag. And
even if you don't collect them, reseeding means that the plant will throw off seeds like they're meant to do, right? And then without you doing anything, things come up. We call that volunteering.
Yeah,
it's a
nice?
Volunteer. Yeah, it is.
Zinnias are just a great, and I have pink and purple and red zinnias all over the yard right now, and I'm so glad that I, in June you just think, you don't think about the future like that,
right?
But I'm so glad I always plant them. Then and this is now iris divination time.
Oh Lord, I have to do that. Yeah,
I've divided my iris this week for the first time in probably 4 or so years. They say it's good to divide them every 3 years, because if you don't divide them, they'll stop blooming.
Right.
And my iris are the kind that are heirloom iris. So iris right now are bred for size and color. Did you know, Edith, that iris used to have a scent?
Oh, wait a minute. Mine have a scent.
That's because they're from my yard.
Oh, they're wonderful. They are from your yard, aren't they?
Yeah. They smell like grapes, don't they?
Oh, they're just the most magical smell. They smell, to me, they're better than grapes. Grape smells. They're wonderful.
So I've divided them. I dug a bunch up. I'm going to send them over. I'm going to try shipping them this year. I'm going to ship some to some friends.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, maybe I should do that too. Do you know how long it's been since I have divided my iris?
How long?
Never. I have never, in 22 years.
Never have I divided iris.
I really got to get to that. You're right. I got to get to that. Okay, so you did that. I did that. What else did you do?
Well, I found a beautiful surprise. I have a peace rose. And I've seen a peace rose, but it starts off with a white bloom, and then it slowly turns yellow, and then it turns pink. It's a beautiful rose. It usually blooms in June.
Yeah.
And then I'll deadhead it, cut off the spent flower, and then maybe I'll get a flower later on in the year. Well, not only do I have a beautiful rose, not only is it re-blooming, but there are 3 or 4 more buds coming.
Christy, is it white?
Yeah.
I saw it on the way in. It was so big. I'm not kidding.
We podcast here at my house in case people didn't know that.
It caught my eye. I was like, oh my gosh, what is that?
Isn't that beautiful?
It's really beautiful.
And guess what I saw on it this morning?
A Japanese beetle, I bet you.
2 Japanese beetles.
Oh, man.
So I put them in a cup of soapy water.
Yeah.
And, I think, you always have a lot more than what you see.
If there's
but the rose looks beautiful. So that looks really good.
It does. It looks beautiful.
I also wanted to say that, remember when I was walking around the vegetable garden and I was nipping off tomato leaves that weren't very healthy.
Uh-huh.
And I was using the same tool without cleaning it in between.
Yes.
I think I found a good hack for this now. I've had these little alcohol wipes that were in the first aid kit.
Yeah.
And I just took a bunch and I brought them in by my garden shed. And I put them in my pocket so that I can just wipe in between.
That's a great idea.
plants.
Oh, that's a good idea.
If you can find those little alcohol wipes, I know they're hard to find, but I happen to have
If you
them.
have a paper towel and put alcohol on it, would that be the same thing?
Yeah, I think so.
You could just do that,
Yeah.
right? Put it in a plastic bag. Nice job.
Yeah, and then I have a correction to make.
Okay.
Well, last week I talked about how to keep deer out of your garden because we
Yeah.
had that nice letter.
Yeah.
And I said that there's this product you can buy that has a laser.
Yes, you did.
It's been brought to my attention that it would not be a laser.
Uh-huh.
So we're not shooting lasers at deer. It would actually be an infrared motion sensor with a trigger, which would either have lights or a water spray.
You know, Chrissy, when you said that, I thought so many thoughts went through my head. One of them being, what an expensive way to keep the deer out, because I was imagining like lasers at the doctor's office.
Yeah, or something
you
like
know?
out of James Bond.
Yeah.
Like some weird
Exactly.
villain who had this.
Like, who would do that? But, you know, she must know what she's talking about,
They're
I
very
thought to
sweet.
myself.
You're very sweet. And I'll say this, is that if you do get one of those infrared motion sensors, you do have to mix it up to try different things because the deer will eventually become desensitized toward whatever you're doing.
That's exactly what Doug said last week, remember?
Yeah, that's right.
That they get 1 week and they get used to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How's your garden, my friend?
Well, I've had some good and some bad.
Uh-huh.
It looks like I'm not going to get any cauliflower. They're all leaf.
What?
I don't know what happened. I even started them from seed.
Oh,
Maybe I
man.
put them out too late.
Huh, when'd you put them out?
Well, I put them out Mother's Day.
Boy,
That's-
that doesn't seem too late to me this year
I
in
didn't,
Colorado.
Except think how hot it's been. Think how many days we've had above 90. But anyway, nothing.
Well, you're going to go home with some cauliflower.
Well, thank you. But you know what? I'm not losing hope. So maybe, and it's interesting, just as I looked at the cauliflower and I was digging around going, this all leaf, out the corner of my eye, I saw this movement. And I looked up and I thought that it was one of those hummingbird moths coming for me. But it wasn't. It was a real hummingbird. And 2 feet away from me, Christy, it stopped and it looked at me for like 3 seconds.
I am so thrilled you saw a hummingbird.
Yeah.
I have not seen a hummingbird all year in my yard.
This is the first one that I've seen.
I have trumpet vine all over my house and along the fence. I have scarlet runner bean blooming beautifully in 4 places. I have butterfly weed. I have a scarlet
You also
Jupiter's
have
beard.
hummingbird feeders.
I have a
see
hummingbird.
them. Yeah.
feeder.
Yeah. And no hummingbirds.
No hummingbirds.
Just wait.
Okay,
Maybe,
good.
who knows? Maybe they'll come by. You know,
Oh,
you
man,
never know.
I'd be so happy if I saw one.
I had also a mutual friend of ours wrote something like that I thought was a really good gardening adage. Jess, she wrote, never garden in sandals. Perfect, right?
Yeah.
I will have a corollary to that. You know, don't fry bacon naked. So. And that's, you know, battling the Japanese beetles, which I do 2-3 times a day. I've had a nice week in the garden. It was nice.
Well, if you folks ever hear words or terms that you're not familiar with, you should check out the Upside Down Dictionary on our website. And if you want to see pictures of our gardens, you should visit us on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest.
You know what else, Christy?
Yes, Edith?
Maybe not just if people don't know a term, maybe if they want to be amused. I think it's the most amusing dictionary since Ambrose Bierce and his Devil's Dictionary. Remember that?
Yes.
Yes.
It's an upside-down dictionary.
It's an upside-down dictionary. So it's funny, unlike most dictionaries.
Yeah.
But true. Has good stuff in it.
It does.
It does. Christy, we have to pause now. We're going to take a break for one of our non-commercial commercials. See you later. I'm a nurse, and oh boy, my job is not easy these days. When I get home from a hard day at the hospital, nothing relaxes me more than taking off my scrubs, putting on a tie-dye shirt, and listening to some Grateful Dead music while I remove dead flower heads from a plant to encourage further blooming. That's right. I'm a deadhead who deadheads, and that's why I use Jerry's hand pruners. As Jerry once said, sometimes we live no particular way but our own. Hello, we're back. We being, of course, Edith and Christy. And the first thing we're going to do is talk about some general rules of harvesting, right?
I think the hardest lesson I learned is that bigger isn't always better.
Oh, that is a great lesson. Yeah.
You think you see a vegetable in the grocery store, it's a lot bigger, and you keep waiting for it to be that size.
Yeah.
And then you've missed your opportunity.
Not only that, but they pump them up in the grocery stores. I mean,
True.
they don't, I've never seen those gigantic strawberries. Do they even have a taste? Hardly at all.
Right.
You'd never want to wait until your
Yeah.
strawberries get that big.
But it's tricky,
they
though.
won't. It is
You know,
tricky.
ask me what is the most important part of harvesting?
What is the most...
Timing.
That came out of nowhere. Very good.
Thanks, Edith.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Like, when is the right time? It's the trickiest part. You learn kind of through experience.
You do, indeed.
But if you're not sure, I think you should just take a nibble and taste it.
I think you should too. I think you should also remember to refer to the seed packet.
Yes.
My goodness, the seed packet tells you almost everything you need to know. And people think, oh, it's just this little seed packet. What could it know? But no, seriously. Why did I say that? No. Read the seed packet.
It's really smart.
And if you have a little chart of when you planted something, you'll know right about when.
Wow, do you make a little chart?
Yeah, I make
Wow.
a whole picture of my garden.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have a picture. I draw it out, but I
draw
don't
it,
write down like the dates like
You know, okay, I'll be honest. I do it for like 2 weeks and that's it.
Sure.
And then I don't do it anymore.
Yes, then you're-
I start out with the best intentions.
I think also it's important to make sure you have the proper tools when you're harvesting.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think all I needed was my hand. And I was just ripping things out or ripping things off. And a lot of times you need a shovel, a little trowel, or you need a little nippers. So you're not damaging.
Never rip is a really good. Don't rip.
It just sounds bad, doesn't it?
It sounds horrible.
And this time of year, you should try to get out into your garden a couple times a week because it's amazing how things can change.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you and I, we go out every day now.
Every day. Well, I mean, if you waited a few days, think how big it's unbelievable. You can almost see certain things grow. You can almost see cucumbers grow, zucchini.
Yes.
My spaghetti squash, the ones that are not being smashed between the two fences, they're gigantic. I swear. I can almost see them growing. It's really exciting.
Well, let's talk about some of the vegetables that we've been harvesting lately and what is the best time to do it, what are best practices.
Okay.
And should we start off with the very first thing that we harvest every year?
Yeah, and it may be different for both of us, but it might be the same. The first thing that I harvested this year was garlic.
Sure, yes.
But even pre-garlic, there's a little pre-garlic era, if you think about it. It's scapes. Do you harvest the scapes?
Oh, you mean the little flowers?
When this gets like a fleur-de-lis on top.
Yes.
If you cut them off, you can eat them raw, you can saute them, you can freeze them, and it helps the plant direct its energy into the garlic bulb, not into making seeds.
And you can actually you can actually plant those too.
Yeah, you can do all those things.
Yeah.
You know, they sell them now at farmers markets.
Oh, is that
Yeah, that's
rich?
what somebody told me. Yes,
Yeah,
scapes.
garlic. How do you know when it's the best time to harvest garlic?
After you take the scape off, the stalk turns brown and falls down. It's like very helpful. It looks dead, and you know it's time to get it out of there. Yeah.
Next thing I would probably harvest would be lettuces and spinach, arugula. It's important to pick it before it gets really hot. Otherwise, you're encouraging the plant to go to flower.
Yep.
The other word for that is to bolt. And once
Dictionary. It's on the dictionary, folks. Okay, go ahead.
good plug, Edith.
Thank you.
And once it goes to flower, once it bolts, then the lettuce or the spinach or the arugula will start to taste bitter.
Yes. Well, here's something that I learned a couple years ago that has just been wonderful, which is I used to either pull the entire plant or cut it off at the root. I never ever do that anymore. You can get 4 to 5 cuttings. This is so important, folks, because you can take one lettuce and it can last you for literally weeks. Just don't cut the crown off.
You
want to
middle part. Leave a good 4 inches or so, don't you think?
You should leave a good 3-4 inches.
Yeah.
Or the alternate way is to take a leaf at a time, starting at the outside.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah.
It is August. I still have lettuce. I still have arugula. And until just recently, I had spinach. But it's almost time to plant spinach again anyway. So.
Yeah, it is almost time. Yeah.
What about peas?
Peas, I plant peas in November. And I harvest peas real early.
Yeah, we're lucky here to be in Zone 5B in Denver. You're right. In Minnesota, you can't plant peas in November.
No. I guess you can't. No. But, the ground keeps them warm because you put them down an inch. So the ground keeps them warm. Or you can plant them like St. Patrick's Day is a traditional day for me to plant stuff. You can tell the peas are ready. If they look like they're wearing too tight of clothes, they're old.
Like
if the pot,
like me after COVID, my COVID-15.
No, Christy, not like you. You know what I'm saying, though.
Yeah. And if you wait too long, they will get tough and stringy. Like a sugar snap pea, you just want it to be juicy and crisp, and it'll get tough if you wait too long.
And the other
so
peas,
you have to just taste it.
If you wait too long, all is not lost. Take the pea, put it in a dish, and put it on your counter, and it turns into seeds.
True.
So nothing is wasted.
That's a great point. Mm-hmm. And radish is always a good spring harvest.
Oh, yeah. Radishes are kind of obvious because they pop up, and they're not going to get gigantic probably like in the store. But boy, are they so much better because they got so much heat on them because they're little.
Yeah, I have a second batch of radishes coming up.
Oh, I got to plant some.
And I find that I used to try to pull them up, and all I would do would be like snap off I find if you have a little trowel just to kind of help them out, give them a little helping hand. I think that's true for a lot of root vegetables like carrots.
Carrots are not easy. Yeah, it's true.
Beets. I have so many beets I need to harvest right now.
I gotta do some beet harvesting too.
And turnips. I've never done turnips before. Have you done turnips?
I don't like turnips.
Oh, okay. There you go.
It's like 2 things in the world I don't like, and turnips is one of them.
It's one of the things I like about you, Edith.
What?
Is that you stand firm on what you believe in. You don't plant ornamental grasses. Why? Because you don't like them. You don't like them.
Right?
Yeah. Reminds me of that joke. Do you know why women don't like the Three Stooges?
Why?
Because they're not funny.
Oh, I don't think they are. No, it's so true.
Right. It's so true.
It's so true. Yeah. What is funny about getting your eyes poked? I don't think that's funny.
What about, I put this in the same category of broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage. Does that seem right to you?
Well, cabbage, in my experience, like last year I had all 3 of those things, and the cabbage came in later than the other 2. Mm-hmm. But it is about right, yeah. And may I say something about my cabbage? So, because I had never grown it before, so I cut it off, leaving it like sits on a bowl almost, right? I cut it off above that, and to my immense surprise, 4 little baby cabbages grew on the thing, on the stalk,
like broccoli.
Yeah, I had no idea.
That's great.
Isn't
so the same thing is true, and I've made this mistake before with broccoli and cauliflower. That is where the bigger is always better. Like, let's keep growing. It's going to get bigger and bigger, and it won't. You want a cauliflower and broccoli need to be tight.
Yeah.
The whole head needs to be tight. And as soon as you start seeing it loosening up, yank that sucker up. I pull the whole cauliflower plant up, but I will slice off the broccoli so I get broccoli babies.
Exactly. Me too. Yeah, because I don't think you can get cauliflower babies. I don't think it does that.
I don't think it does either. But if anybody does get cauliflower babies, will you let us know?
Oh, yeah. That'd be great to know.
And when cauliflower goes to flower, I mean, and the same thing is true with cauliflower and broccoli. That just turns bitter. It doesn't taste
Not
very
only
good.
that, but the longer you leave it out there, the more you're attracting the aphids, and they will destroy I mean,
And then if you get the aphids, then you're going to get the earwigs, as you
Yeah.
know from my story from last week.
yes.
My earwig
Yeah.
disaster.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful. But I do love it when broccoli eventually goes to flower. I leave it out.
You do?
The bees go nuts.
Oh, that is nice.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of
That's nice.
It's kind of pretty that way.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about when is the right time to harvest a zucchini.
Well, if you like them really tender and you don't have a huge family, get them when they're 5, 6, 7 inches.
Yes, that's perfect. Mm-hmm.
If when my kids were living with me, like, I would let it go. Because,
Yeah.
more food. Plus, and don't forget, folks, if it does get too big, you can do zucchini bread. You can just grate it. But yeah, the smaller
Zucchini
the
fritters.
better.
Ever made that before at all?
No, sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing like making a potato pancake.
Uh-huh.
But instead of potato, you use shaved zucchini.
Okay, speaking of that to me is the hardest thing to know when it's ready are potatoes.
Yeah.
Do you grow potatoes?
I have before. I've actually grown them in my compost pile. And then I forgot about them. And then in the spring, I had what's that? Oh, that's those potatoes. I think I have not found potatoes to be very satisfying because you just go, that's it?
I know they're tiny.
Yeah.
Well, I'm growing them this year in a big bucket. So we'll see.
Oh.
As soon as I think what I'm going to do is when the tops die down like garlic,
Yes.
I'm going to turn the big bucket upside down and see my haul, my
Is
my
it
potato
after they
haul.
come to flower? They flower, right?
They do flower, and I think it might be after. Yeah.
That's when you may just have to test by pulling some up and see the size. But they're not going to be like big bakers from the grocery store.
No.
They'll never
But
be
you know
that way.
what? They're really good.
How about the green beans? I think that one's pretty easy.
Yeah, that's pretty easy.
You can just taste it.
Here's the thing: if you get them when they're little, they taste fine.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no problem
And
with it.
it's very on trend to have
What?
a microgreens,
Oh, microgreens.
micro green beans, micro carrots. It's very trendy.
Okay, can I say something while we're speaking about carrots?
Yes.
So here's the thing, and I have to say, it gets me kind of going. So they sell baby carrots, at the grocery store, and there's no such thing.
Right.
There's young carrots. The reason you know that these are phony and lies, they're orange lies, looking at you in the produce section, is that they don't taper. A real carrot, tapers to a root.
And they've just been shaved and shaped.
They've been shaved and shaped, so they have a big carrot, and they'll get 2, 3 of those carrots and call them baby, but they're not young. And they're bred, so they don't have as much of a core. So they're also, hybrids of some kind. So, yeah.
If it does encourage you, though, to eat a carrot because you don't want to deal with all the mess of peeling and cutting them up. Oh, Edith's giving me a look.
Oh, such a look. Oh, my goodness. How pampered are we?
I was trying to stand up for the mutilated carrot.
Oh, see, that's because there you go, being nice again.
There you go. We're going to take a break and come back and talk about more harvesting.
I'm a flight attendant, and oh boy, my job is not easy these days. When I have to be repositioned from New York as part of an on-duty assignment to work a flight back to Los Angeles, there's nothing that relaxes me more than splashing on some patchouli, popping on some Grateful Dead tunes, heading out to my garden and removing the faded flowers of my plants to keep a neat appearance and to promote reblooming by preventing seed production. That's right, I'm a deadheading deadhead who deadheads. And that's why I use Jerry's hand pruners. As Jerry once said, hang it up and see what tomorrow brings.
Hey, howdy, we're back.
Cucumbers. Those can be tiny too. That's why you can't make a mistake by harvesting a small cucumber. But boy, this last week, they hide in those vines.
They sure do.
And I found one that was about the size. It was about maybe 8 inches long and about 5 inches across. So this big tubby.
Wow.
And it had turned yellow.
Okay, I have a story. I'm so glad you set me up so perfectly for this story. I can't even believe it. When I was in college, my very favorite professor, he was our theater professor and our theater director, asked my boyfriend and I to house sit and garden sit for a week. And we said, sure. Well, we were really young and so busy being young that we didn't really go out right away to the garden. And we'd go out and we'd look around, and I didn't see any cucumbers because, as you said, they really hide, which I didn't realize. Well, we get to a few days in, and we're looking around, and I see some cucumbers, and they're kind of yellowish green. And my boyfriend David goes, maybe we should pick them. I go, you silly thing. They're supposed to be green. We have to wait for them to be green. Well, they got gigantic, spongy, and as yellow as can be.
Yeah.
And when my professor, Dr. Paul Talley, came back, he yelled and yelled and yelled at us.
Boy, he really cares about his cucumbers.
Boy, did he care about his cucumbers. And I remember thinking at the time it was excessive, but now that I garden like crazy, now I don't think it was so excessive anymore. You
I had
know?
to throw them in the compost pile.
Yeah.
And that's a vegetable I recommend not pulling. You need a nippers in there because what connects the cucumber to the vine is tough. And if you try to pull it with your hand, you're just going to yank the whole vine.
Good idea. That's a good idea. Yeah.
Shall we talk about tomatoes?
Yeah.
When is a tomato? When should you pull it? Edith?
I do two things, color and firmness. You don't want it to be hard. You want it, and depending on that, there's so many varieties now. I mean, there's orange, there's black crim, that doesn't look ripe when it is ripe. So feel it. And if it's not rock hard, it's not ready. In that case, I just put it in my kitchen and wait.
Yeah, if you accidentally pull it a couple days early, it's going to be okay.
It's going to be fine.
Now, I have a tomato story.
Okay.
So, we talked a lot about Alice on this podcast so far. Alice is my tomato in my garden, so named because I have 9 tomato plants all on a grid like the Brady Bunch. And this is the tomato in the middle that's been sickly but kind of hanging in there.
Yeah.
And had tomatoes, and the tomatoes are ripening. And I've harvested a couple of them. It's kind of hanging in there. She's probably not going to make it much longer.
Yeah.
But, she's doing the best she can. And then last week, we had a commercial about squirrels.
Yeah. Oh, no.
And I'm going to show you that Alice, I'm pulling out a little paper bag here, and I'm pulling out 2 tomatoes from Alice. Alice was assaulted. A squirrel came and took 1 bite.
Oh, my gosh. They are nasty.
Out of poor Alice. So, of course.
Out of 2 so the squirrel took a bite out of 1 bite out of 2 tomatoes.
Yes.
And threw them down.
They were still on the plant.
It was still on the plant.
Yep. And so then what I did is that any tomato that was 75% ripe, I pulled it.
That makes sense.
Because and then I also realized that my bird bath was out of water because I had dumped it the other day.
Oh, so the squirrels were thirsty.
That's what I've been told. So probably my fault. I didn't have any water in my bird bath, so I did that. And because you want squirrels to get a taste for it, I think. So I'm very nervous. There's nothing
Let me know
worse.
if you need any netting.
I may have to put up
with.
netting.
I
do
netting.
have some. I have some netting too. I may have to do that. That's a
That'll
really good
work
point.
because they get frustrated with all the
very
netting.
annoying.
One more thing I want to say about tomatoes: if you do pick one that's green, I know
what you're gonna say.
Wrapping it in newspaper.
Yes.
I do that every year. I do that
I
before
know.
the first frost. Did you have a horrible experience with that?
This fall, we had that hard frost.
Yeah.
Was that late September, early October?
Oh, I don't remember.
Hard frost.
It's been
like below
shockingly
20 degrees. It was a hard frost.
Like boom.
So the day before, what did everybody do in the Denver metro area? Everybody, you see it all over Facebook too. It's like, I'm pulling all my tomatoes. I had a huge tomato year. Just so many. I probably had 50 green tomatoes.
Wow.
Put them all up, wrapped it up in newspaper, put them on my attic.
Did you forget about them, Christy?
Edith?
Did you?
They're still there.
I'm afraid to open the box. I'm surprised it doesn't smell.
What's in the box?
Like rotten Campbell's soup in this
Well,
house.
I would check on them, and then I got busy directing plays, and then you just got that point where you just know it was too late.
Wow.
So I've got like, I don't know, 4 boxes of tomatoes. I'm going to guess there's nothing there.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to guess so, too. I'm going to be pretty darn sure. Yeah, it's a big tomato paste at this point, but smelly.
Even the paste is going to be gone. I bet it's just all gone. Anyway, that's
okay. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about corn.
I don't know much about corn.
I've grown corn, being from the Midwest. And the traditional rule is that if you're going to get corn, is you want to get that pot of water going right away. Because the moment you harvest it, the corn starts to lose its sweetness.
Oh.
You know when corn is ripe, when the silk at the top is dried out. And then you pull a little away and you stick your fingernail in it. And if the kernel produces a milky color, then it's ready. If it's clear, you wait a little bit longer.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
That's a good one for corn. What about squash, winter squash?
Okay, that's a good one. You have to, I think, wait until the stem is brown. So it's going to lay there. It's going to lay there for longer than you might think. And the covering, what is it called? The skin has to be really hard. You shouldn't be able to dent it with your nail, right?
Yes.
So as long as you get it in before the first frost, because that takes out everything.
Yeah,
just let it lay there.
Yeah, just wait. Be patient.
Yeah, it's too hard for most.
Green is bad.
Green, yeah. True enough.
How about peppers?
Oh, you can just tell with peppers, right? You can just tell.
I think so.
When they're young, they're delicious. When they're
and the longer they wait, they'll change color, and that will deepen their flavor. Hot peppers left to change color will get hotter. So if you want a jalapeno to get hotter, wait for it to turn red.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Good thinking.
How about melons, cantaloupe, honeydews?
Well, okay, I grew cantaloupe last year, and I got one that the squirrels didn't get, and I think if you go by the store rule, which is you smell it, and it's not too hard and not too soft. Yeah. Like Goldilocks melon.
Can I tell you, yesterday I was in the grocery store and I was walking by and a man was there and he was just staring helplessly at cantaloupe. And he looked at me and he said, "How do you know when these are ripe?" And I said, "Well, try smelling it. If it smells like a melon, I think it's good."
Good, yeah.
Using my power for good.
Oh, yes, you are, always.
Onions?
Onions, can I say before you harvest the onion, when it's so hot like here, they go to seed at the top. I cut those off. You cut those off?
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, don't let them do that because
I know they're not supposed to.
The onions are smaller.
Yeah,
and
leeks too, right?
Leeks as well. Yeah, just go around, cut that stuff off. I think, Christy, you can kind of tell, right? Don't they kind of pop up? Yeah, they kind of pop up. Yeah. And you can't make a mistake. A little onion, a big onion, they're all delicious.
That's true. That's right.
Yeah.
In our very first episode, we talked about our top 10 favorite gardening mistakes.
Yeah.
And one of mine was the fear of harvesting.
Yes.
And in thinking about this episode, I have done a little psychoanalysis on myself.
Always helpful.
I think I have figured out why I had a fear of harvesting.
Why?
Well, one is because everything looks so beautiful when it's out there that I'm too vain to pull it. I had trouble pulling that cauliflower. It was so beautiful. I want people to come by and go, "Look at that cauliflower. Look at that broccoli. Look how beautiful it is."
Oh, Christy.
Then I also think another reason why is I always think, well, maybe one more day, it'll be even better. I think the other reason why is because once you harvest it and it comes into the house, you have to figure out what to do with it.
It's work.
It's a lot of work.
Right. It's a lot of work. That's right.
Oh my gosh, I have all this basil. I harvested all this basil. Now what am I going to do? Now I got to find time to make pesto. Now I have all these tomatoes. Now I have to can. I have all these cucumbers. Now I have to pickle.
I was just going to suggest more psychoanalysis, but maybe by a professional. That's all.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
That's probably good. Yeah.
Upside Down Tulips is brought to you by this psychotherapy.
I'm a truck driver, and boy, my job is not easy these days. If I have to complete a trip without freight to pick up an outbound load, nothing facilitates experiencing other planes of consciousness and tapping into deep spiritual wells than putting on my Birkenstock sandals, getting my 1977 bootleg recording of The Dead at San Francisco, and heading out to my garden in the horticultural practice of removing spent flowers from ornamental plants. Since fading flowers are not as appealing and direct a lot of energy into seed development if pollinated, and putting them in an old skull I have laying around. That's right, I'm a deadheading deadhead who deadheads in a dead head. And that's why I use Jerry's hand pruners. As Jerry once said, if you get confused, just listen to the music play.
Edith, it's your favorite part.
What is it?
It's time for mailbag.
Ring, ring.
Okay.
Here we go. Our first one is Lisa from Denver. And folks, I want to tell you, I'm not making up this nice compliment. She actually said, all in caps, love your podcast.
Aw.
Yeah, we've already learned a lot. My husband's family is originally from Wisconsin. So along with smoked meats and maple syrup, he's a big fan of the R's. Radishes, rhubarb, and rutabagas. Do you have any insight into varieties or techniques on growing radishes, rhubarb, or rutabagas in the Denver metro area? Let's answer that before I go on with the next one.
Okay.
Because I've only grown rutabagas once, and it was successful. The seed is an heirloom American purple top,
Oh.
and it was very successful.
I can tell you what I like for radishes is I like growing the French breakfast ones.
Oh, I like those too.
They're a little longer,
Uh-huh.
and you can grow them several times, I think.
I like the sparklers, the cherry
Oh,
sparklers.
yes, yeah.
You know what? There's not a radish I don't like.
Yeah.
I love radishes.
It took me a while to get rhubarb established in my yard.
You know, some people love it or hate it.
Well, I'm being from the Midwest, love it. And so I actually bought several plants of rhubarb, watched it die. And then I had a friend who was getting rid of hers and asked me if I wanted a clump. And I took it and I put it in the ground. And, you know, my rhubarb is about 6 foot
It's beautiful.
in circumference, isn't it?
Yes, it's beautiful. My male person loves rhubarb. My male person.
Oh, we have to tell the story, Edith.
yeah. Okay.
You go ahead. You tell your story about
Okay.
your male person, and then
My
can I
male
tell
person's
my part of the story?
Yes, my male person's name is Jeanette, and she's new, and she's a great male woman. That doesn't sound right. Male woman,
Male carrier.
male person, carrier. Oh, there's the word I was looking for. So we were talking, and she said she liked rhubarb. She makes rhubarb tea. So I left her some in the mailbox. You know what I mean? So it's like a little treat. And then I told, you know, Christy lives 3 blocks from me, and I told Christy, you know, Jeanette loves rhubarb, and you have so much rhubarb. So what did you do?
So I was at my rhubarb patch, and I think it's important for people to know that when you harvest it, you shouldn't harvest it all at once.
No.
You should harvest it a third at a time. So you can harvest 3 times throughout the summer. It's really great. And you should never cut it.
Nope.
You should pull it.
That's one of not rip, pull.
Pull. Gently pull on it. So I was out there saying, hey, it's time for part 2 of rhubarb. And I remember what you said. So I pulled a bunch of stalks. And then I got a little Martha Stewart about it.
Oh,
And I
no.
went into my wrapping paper section.
No.
And I got some pink ribbon. And I wrapped it up with some really pretty ribbon. It looked really pretty with the rhubarb. And I had to trim it a little bit so it fit in my mailbox. And I got a little card that said, thanks for being such a great mail carrier, Jeanette. You know, Christy. And then I got back a lovely thank you card from her. I have it in my hand here right now. And here's what it says. It says, Christy, thank you so much for the rhubarb, smiley face. You are the best. Mailman Jess. And I went, well, that's weird, because Edith said our mail carrier's name was Jeanette. So then I thought maybe you didn't know her name right.
Oh, I see.
But then what do I find out, Edith? We were on the phone.
We were on the phone. Jeanette comes onto my porch to give me my mail, and I said, oh, here's Jeanette, who you gave rhubarb to. Jeanette goes, excuse me?
So we found out that we don't have the same mail carrier.
Right.
And I gave rhubarb to somebody who was not expecting it.
Well, what a nice gift.
Well, I don't know. She
Unless she
probably
hated
opened the mailbox and just went, rhubarb?
What a weirdo.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, what a weirdo. Okay, I'm glad that we talked about harvesting rhubarb because we forgot to do that. Here's part 2 of Lisa from Denver's letter. On another note, I'm growing early girl tomatoes in containers rather than the ground because we live in a townhome. So would you recommend I fertilize differently than the instructions on the tomato vegetable fertilizer? I'm concerned about burning my tomatoes. But so far, I've only gotten golf ball sized tomatoes, although they are delicious.
Yeah. Well, my first gut is to say yes to fertilizing differently and to go, you have to fertilize more, less but more. Does that make sense?
No,
So you want them more frequently, but not as a strong amount. Like when I just fertilize my tomatoes, I maybe fertilize them once a month.
I see.
Give them a big, and you'll lose a lot of nutrients out through the container. And that's how you get blossom end rot.
Okay.
So I would suggest
more
fertilizing more frequently, but less.
At each time.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Good. Oh, you have a letter too?
I do. Okay. Ready? Mm-hmm. I've been the duplex-wide gardener for the shared front and backyards for 6 years now. I'm no master gardener, but I am attentive, and the yard looks so much better than when I started. Our half and the neighbors' halves are really of a piece. One half looks crazy. The whole thing looks crazy. Recently, a professional landscaping person moved in next door, and in deference to their experience, I now only care for our half of things. They brought a couple of nice plants, but in general, their portion of things isn't all that well tended or watered. I can't tell if they're trying to let me continue tending the yards or if they understand I'm leaving their half to them. People tell me to be direct and clarify the situation, but when I have opportunities, I have no words that don't sound offensive.
Oh, yeah.
Am I taking care of this or you? Could it be taken the wrong way? What to say, what to do? We need our place to look great as we're trying to sell soon. Signed, Dumpstruck in Denver.
Wow. Especially these days, I feel for her.
Mm-hmm.
When you say something to somebody, sometimes they are so quick to take offense. So I don't know what I would do. I don't know what it would. It's like the weeds in the alley situation. Where I didn't know, should I say something? These weeds are 7 foot tall. They're going to go into seed, and I decided not to. And luckily, he did cut them down. But you know what? Maybe if she was just totally honest, look, we're trying to sell the house.
Yeah.
Would you mind if you must, you know what I mean?
I think that's a great out, is that they're selling the house.
Yeah.
In fact, they could even say this, which is, our real estate agent said our house would sell faster, our house would sell more if the whole property was cleaned up.
You just gave a philosophy of life, which is always blame the real estate agent. That's perfect.
It's not me. It's the real estate agent. But I have friends who are real estate agents, and they're strong enough to take on that burden because they want to get the best price for their clients. So
there's some tough people. We love real estate agents.
Yeah.
They are some tough, wonderful people. Yeah. And now for our moment of inspiration.
This quote is by Minnie Aumonier. When the world wearies and society fails to satisfy, there is always the garden.
Oh, that's nice. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Please subscribe and follow us where you like to listen to podcasts.
Wherever that is. Maybe it's Singapore, like our mystery person. Because when you subscribe to a podcast, you no longer have to keep track of all your favorite shows, remember what you've listened to, or where you left off.
Instead, our new episodes will come directly to your phone automatically. Every time you open the app, we'll be there waiting.
We're waiting right now. Come on. You're all set to listen entirely offline. And it's still free.
Please tell your friends.
Please. Special thanks to Denise Gentilini for composing and performing the Upside Down Tulips theme song.
And to our friends and actors, Michael Morgan and Karen Slack.
They're good people. So are you, Christy Monter-Larson.
Well, thanks, Edith Weiss.
You'd be better if I knew that there was something to drink in the fridge, is there?
There sure is.
All right. Maybe we should head on up.
You bet. Don't forget.
What? Oh, if you make a mistake,
your garden will forgive you.
Nice.
Upside down tulips.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.